All right, everyone, this is Ms. Henderson. I am just going over the Ixl. So the first one that I have here is FF11. So if you are struggling with FF11, what you want to make sure you're doing is you are splitting your shape into rectangles and squares. You also want to make sure that when you do this, you are being conscious of the sides that you use to find areas. So for example, this right here, you can see that 2 of its sides are 5, which means it's a square. So I would label the other sides as 5 as well, okay? Now, the second rectangle, which I will outline in black, okay, you will notice this 20 does not represent its full length. It represents just up to that point. This 21 does not represent this width. It represents this whole side right here. So we don't want to use that, okay? So when you go to find the area for the red square, you would want to do 5 times 5, which equals 25. For the black rectangle, you're using 25 times 16. And remember, you can use your calculator for this, okay? It is totally fine to use your calculator. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate if you forgot how to get that calculator, okay? Just grab it, pull it up on your screen, okay? So I'm doing 5 times 5, which is 25. I'm doing 16 times 25, which is 400. And then for this one, we're adding those two areas together to get a total area of 425. All right, for the second problem, same thing. Now, in the example, they might show you a different way to cut it up, and that's totally fine. I could cut it like this, okay? That's one way to make it. I could also cut it like, I could also cut it like this, okay? There's multiple different ways to do these problems. It's okay. So when I look at this first rectangle, okay, I want to really think consciously about what edges matter, okay? This 19 is definitely representing this. That looks like, this looks like a good number to use. This 11 is representing the width. 34, I don't want to use that 34 because that's representing this whole piece that I don't want, okay? Second, when I make my next rectangle, okay, I'll outline it in red. I don't want to use this 5 because that 5 only represents this little tiny piece. That's not the whole length and width. I want to use 16 and I want to use 15. So to find my area, I'm going to do 11 times 19, and that will give me the area of the first rectangle, which is 209. And then I'm going to do 15 times 16, which will give me the area of the second rectangle, which is 240. And then to find their area, I'm going to add those two together. And that gives me my total, which is 449. Okay? Same thing with this example. I'm going to cut it right here, and I'm going to think 15, that represents 15, and 11, this 31 does not seem like a good choice to use because it's representing that whole top line, which is not the part of my rectangle I'm focused on. For my second rectangle, okay, this 10 is irrelevant because it's just talking about this little tiny piece. So I would want to use the 21 and the 16. So for the first rectangle, 21 times 16 gives me an area of 336. For the second rectangle, 15 and 11 gives me an area of 165. To find the total area, I'm going to add those two things together, and I get 501. Okay? So that is the example for how to work through these problems. All right, I can do a couple more. If you feel like you have a good understanding, you can leave. If you want to stay on and watch, So this right here on the end is a 3 by 3 square, which I know is 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. This rectangle right here, I don't want to use that 2, and I don't want to use that 14, because that 14 is representing all of that. I don't want all of that. I just want this part right here, which is 11 and 5. So I'm going to do 11 times 5. That gets me an area of 55. To find the total area, I'm going to add 55 plus 9, and I get 64. Okay? So now I'm going to encourage you, please work on these problems. Your goal is to get to an 80 SMART score if you are in my regular period 1, period 3, and period 7 classes, and 100 if you are in period 4 and period 6.